Reborn back in 1983, the whole internet is obsessed with making money, but I'm the only one heading into the mountains overnight. Because I know this stretch of the Greater Khingan Mountains is the real gold. In my last life, I traveled far and wide, with a sharp eye and dead-on aim. Back then, hunting wasn't banned, and treasures were everywhere. My dad was just too honest. This time, whether it's the boar king or the black bear, I'm turning them all into family assets. Just watch. The most hopeless prodigal in Khingan village is going to become Su Pao, #1 in the Northeast in this life. A burst of sharp pain yanked me out of my dream. Before I could even react, I got hit hard across the back again, burning with pain. I sprang up from the Kong in an instant. Before my eyes could focus, a curse was already on the tip of my tongue. Who the hell hit me? The words caught in my throat. The woman standing on the floor was wearing an old gray-blue padded jacket, clutching a broom head in her hand, her chest heaving with rage. And her gaze looked like it wanted to burn a hole through me. I rubbed my eyes hard, wiping away 2 bits of eye gunk, and saw her clearly. Mom. Don't call me Mom. I'm not your mom. Liz Hen ground her back teeth, kicked off her cotton shoes, and jumped onto the Kong, swinging the broom head down at me in a furious barrage. I instinctively shrank back, and my back slammed against the wall with a thud. There was nowhere left to retreat, so my arms and legs came up instinctively to block. But the broom head landed on my shoulders, arms, and calves, and it hurt right down to the core. It hurt. It really hurt. All of a sudden, I lowered my arms and leaned stiffly against the wall, letting her hit me. The pain grew clearer and clearer, yet I found myself enjoying it more and more. My eyes stung, my nose clogged up, and tears wouldn't stop streaming down. This wasn't a dream. My mom. This woman who, in the autumn of 1990, went up the mountain to pick mushrooms and was mauled down by a black bear. A woman who had already been gone from my life for over 20 years was standing alive right in front of me, holding a broom head and beating the hell out of me. Back then, I was flipping electrical appliances in the provincial capital and didn't even make it back for the funeral. In all those 20-plus years, she never once came to me in a dream. Mom. I lurched forward on my knees across the quilt, threw my arms around her, and held on tight, my throat feeling blocked by a stone. It's so good to see you. Liz Hen was a little stunned by my hug. The broom in her hand stopped in midair, but her mouth was still unforgiving. You bet it's not good. If it weren't for your second uncle and Hoosie, you'd have frozen to death on the street last night. Those words were like a basin of cold water, snapping me awake in an instant. Frozen to death on the street. The diamond-shaped mirror on the Kong cabinet, the row of old-style floor cabinets, the Kong table standing against the wall. Isn't this old Wong next door's house? I stared at myself in the mirror. A handsome face in its early 20s, with clear, smooth lines, peach blossom eyes with double eyelids, a high-nose bridge, and sword-like brows. Standing 1.78 meters tall, with a refined and gentle look. With a face like this, I should have had no trouble finding a wife in the Khingan area. But I was known as a notorious playboy, and there wasn't a soul in all of Khingan who didn't know my name as a wastrel. I dropped out at 16, ran off to town every other day, and stirred up trouble with a bunch of useless cronies. The police brought me back several times. If I hadn't been young, and if what I'd done hadn't been too serious, I'd have landed in prison long ago. Dad beat me plenty, but the more he did, the less I came home. At the start of 1983, one of the friends I ran with was made an example of after being arrested, so scared out of my wits, I ran back to the village overnight. After only 2 quiet days, I got restless again and was never home. Drinking myself blind, throwing dice, playing Pai Gao, wherever there was a game, that's where I'd worm my way in. I let go of my mom and wiped my tears away with a rough swipe. The face in the mirror, the cotton-padded jacket on my body, the broom handle in my mom's hand, and what she had just said. It was like an electric shock ran through my mind, and a date flashed out. November 7th, 1983. Tomorrow is the start of winter, my 20th birthday. I remembered this day for my whole life. Because just 3 hours after my mom finished beating me, something earth-shattering happened to our family. On November 5th, the Khingan Forestry Station organized a nearby family settlement to go to Ganjialingzi for a 3-day surround hunt. My dad, Su Chunlin, my older brother Su Long, and my uncle went up the mountain with dogs a little after 6 in the morning. My dad and Wang early got into an argument over the division of labor and switched roles at the last minute. My dad took my uncle to be the shooters, while Wang early took Wang Hu and my older brother to drive the game. But the game drivers failed to get the timing right, and my dad opened fire before he had reached the designated position. In hunter's jargon, it was called a premature shot. The prey was a group of wild boars, including a huge boar weighing over 300 gene. with two tusks like knives. My dad shot a sow dead and was crouching in a hollow reloading. That huge boar charged out from the side, straight at him. My dad didn't panic. He raised his gun and fired a dud round. The wild boar knocked him head over heels. He fell face down on the ground, his padded jacket bunched up over his upper body, exposing his waist. That beast seemed almost possessed and drove its two tusks right into his exposed waist. His lumbar vertebrae were broken. They got him to the hospital in town. His life was saved, but he was crippled. Paralyzed from the waist down, he never stood up again for the rest of his life. My dad was the chief accountant at the forestry station, the pillar of the family. When that pillar fell, this home collapsed. My heart clenched sharply, and I let go of my mom and jumped to the ground. Where the hell are you going? Off to fool around again. My mom raised the broom handle and chased after me. I landed with both feet in my shoes and shouted back, I'm going up the mountain to find my dad. Mom, I've turned over a new leaf. What? She froze for a moment. The broom suspended in midair. Turned over a new leaf? Yeah, Mom. From now on I swear I won't mess around or fool around anymore. Just wait and see. Lula's hen waved her big hand. Oh, cut it out. If you could really straighten out, then dogs wouldn't eat shit. I laughed and held up 3 fingers. From now on, our dog definitely won't eat shit. She gave a couple of cold snorts, her face full of disbelief. Fair enough. Other than raising hell, gambling, and getting dead drunk, when had I ever done anything proper? In my previous life, after my dad was paralyzed, I still went on doing whatever I wanted. Who knows how many tears my mom shed in private. Later, it was Wong Early who dragged me up the mountain to hunt, and that was the only reason I settled down for a little over a year. In 1985, he had someone introduce me to the daughter of Limping Ming. When she was little, I had pulled that girl out of a reservoir after she fell in. Her family remembered the favor and married their fresh, lovely daughter to me. After we got married, aside from giving my wife a little money for living expenses, I squandered everything I earned from hunting. Dad cursed me countless times, and Mom broke 3 broom handles beating me. My older brother got so mad he demanded the family split up and kicked me out. After the split, I got even worse, gambling day and night. My wife wept in silence, and Limping Ming came to my door several times. In the countryside, this was shameful beyond words. My mom was too ashamed to face people and made me divorce my wife. I took the money and went to the provincial capital. Later I worked as a mine railcar guard in a coal mine, got mixed up in the ginseng trade and made some money, and then went south to resell electrical appliances. At one point, my assets were close to 10 million. But a dog can't stop eating shit. I kept seeking out gambling dens, even going to cross-border casinos to gamble, until I didn't have a single cent left. I owed loan sharks, and people severed the tendons in my hands and feet. It was brothers who'd been through life and death with me who got me out and had me treated. When I returned to the settlement, I was a cripple, barely scraping by on support from my older brother and younger sister. In the year I turned 53, news came that the Meng family's daughter had died of illness, and everything went black before my eyes. When I opened my eyes again, it was November 7th, 1983. My mom was brandishing a broom, grinding her teeth in fury. Back at the starting point, I couldn't change the past, but I could change the future. I pulled up the heel of my shoe, looked at the utter distrust on my mom's face, and said with a smile, "Mom, I've really turned over a new leaf. Oh, give me a break. Just wait till your dad gets back and see how he beats you." I thought to myself that if I didn't hurry up and head into the mountains, Su Laoyan would never get a chance to shoot me in this life. "Mom, I need to get up the mountain fast. If I'm any later, it'll be too late." "Too late for what? What on earth are you trying to do?" "Oh, don't worry about it. Anyway, I've reformed. I definitely won't go gambling or get drunk." She froze for a moment. Even though she'd heard those words 10,000 times, every time she heard them, a trace of hope still flickered in her eyes. I put on my warmed-up cotton jacket and headed for the outer room. My second aunt, Han Fengjiao, was sitting on a wooden stump feeding firewood into the stove pit. When she saw me, she said with a smile, "Put your mom's mind at ease a little. Since you're heading up the mountain, you can bring them their meal. They left in such a hurry this morning that they forgot to take their rations." My mom followed me out and pointed at the 2 aluminum lunch boxes on the stove. "If you're going out to fool around, then don't take these lunch boxes." I didn't explain. I picked up the cloth bag with the lunch boxes and lifted the curtain as I went out the door. Even when I reached the front gate, she still wasn't at ease. Pulling back the cotton door curtain, she called out, "Be extra careful up in the mountains." I turned back, "Don't worry." Then just as I turned around again, I remembered, "Mom, tonight I want to eat shredded potato wraps." "You look like a wrap. Now get the hell out of here." After cursing at me, she let the curtain fall with a slap. The corners of my mouth lifted. Those long-lost words sounded so pleasant. Walking through the village, I ran into quite a few acquaintances, and every one of them greeted me. Off to gamble? Who won last night? I didn't answer, just smiled and nodded as a way of acknowledging them. Among this bunch, some were decent and some were rotten. When I was doing well, they greeted me with smiles. When I fell on hard times, they treated me like I was invisible. I couldn't blame them for being snobbish. I could only blame myself for being such a disappointment. Years of living disabled had long since ground those bad habits out of me. In the last 5 years, I was barely getting enough to eat, and my temper was still foul. And I'd offend to the bitter end anyone who was good to me. Later on, when my older brother and younger sister brought me things, they didn't even dare show their faces, afraid I'd act like an animal. The only exception was my former brother-in-law. Every time he came to bring me something, the two of us would definitely end up in a fight. A couple of times he pinned me to the ground and pummeled me, and not a single villager passing by stepped in to break it up. They all said he was beating me good. That's how badly I'd ruined my reputation. But with this second chance at life, I've decided to turn over a new leaf. Revenge where there's a grudge, repayment where there's kindness. My mind wasn't idle the whole way. I made myself a must-do list for rebirth. First, go up the mountain and save my father. Save Su Laonian from the jaws of that wild boar. My dad being gored into paralysis was the beginning of every misfortune, so no matter what, I had to stop it. Second, get myself a semi-automatic rifle, hunt the Greater Khingan Mountains, and build it up bigger and stronger. In my previous life, I drifted around outside aimlessly. When my parents passed away, I wasn't even by their side, and the regret ate me alive. In this life, I'll stay right by my mom and dad and go nowhere. Besides, in these days guns and hunting weren't banned, and the mountains were full of treasure. I have plenty of hunting experience. Whether it's a big hunt or a small one, I've got it down pat, so why not live off the mountains? Third, take down 500 wild boars and 100 black bears. And if I get the chance, take down a couple of tigers or leopards too, and earn the achievement of being another Supao. Hunting tigers and leopards is the ultimate dream of every hunter. A good hunter isn't talked into being one, he's proven by what he bags. Fourth, use 1 year to change how my family sees me. It takes 3 days to learn bad habits and 3 years to learn good ones. Even with the advantage of being reborn, I only dared set myself a goal of 1 year after gritting my teeth. As for what the villagers think, they can think whatever they want. Fifth, marry myself a good woman. No need to look around blindly. My wife from my previous life, Meng Xian, was pretty good. In my past life, I was too much of a brute and didn't seize the chance. In this life, I'll win her over, treat her like a princess, and make it up to her properly. After finishing the list, I stopped in front of a house at the west end of the village. Is my big brother home? I craned my neck and shouted inside. This was the home of Li Fuqiang, the town drunk. A man in his 30s came out of the side room. It was Li Fuqiang. When he saw it was me, he jogged over and asked with a grin, "What's up, brother? Didn't drink your fill last night?" "Drink what? I damn near froze to death last night." His face changed, and he grabbed my arm. "What happened? Wasn't I the one who took you home yesterday?" I told him how Wang Early had picked me up from the doorstep, and he got so mad he stamped his feet on the spot. "I told you. I was worried you'd get into trouble, so I made a point of seeing you all the way to your door. Why were you even worrying about your big brother? Don't you know how much I can hold?" "Big brother, let's not talk about that first. I've got something serious. Do you have a boar spear at home?" "Yeah, you need it. Wait here." He turned and went into the side room, then brought out 3 boar spears. "Is this enough?" "1 is enough. What are you taking a boar spear for?" "Going up the mountain. The forestry station organized a hunt. My dad and the others left in a hurry without bringing food, so I'm taking some up to them." Li Fuqiang slapped his hand. "The mountains are full of game, and you've hardly ever been up there. How dangerous is that? How about this? I'll go with you." "No need. No need, my ass." He cut me off directly. "Your big brother here has roamed these mountains for over 30 years, flattening countless trips. What if you step on a trap? Just wait." He turned and went back inside to get his clothes. Besides the nickname Town Drunk, Li Fuqiang also had another name, Lita Benshur. To be called that, you either really have skills or you just love bragging. Judging by the habits of a drunk, he was probably the latter. But aside from liking to brag a little, he was pretty decent when it came to getting things done as long as he wasn't drinking. In my previous life, when I returned to the village in glory, my dinner schedule was packed solid for half a month, and he never tried to squeeze in. I had meant to invite him out for a drink, but the townsfolk were too enthusiastic, and I never had a free moment. It wasn't until I got back to the provincial capital that I remembered I hadn't had a drink with Li Fuqiang that whole trip. Later, when I fell on hard times and returned to the village, Every one of those acquaintances I'd drunk with pretended not to know me. He alone, when he saw how down and out I looked, was so distressed that tears kept falling. He practically dragged me to his house for a meal, and when I left, he stuffed half a bag of rice and millet into my hands. After that, he came by every so often, bringing things, chopping firewood, and heating the Kong. Good people don't live long. Less than 2 years after I returned to the village, he drank himself into liver cancer and died. That big brother I called out just now came from the bottom of my heart. Li Fuqiang came out in his cotton-padded jacket and took that old muzzleloader down from the wall. The gun had some years on it. He said it had been passed down from his grandfather, and the old man had used it to kill 2 second-rank beasts. While he was alive, people also respectfully called him Li de Ben Shur. The old muzzleloader was an old-style hunting gun, with a long barrel and a thin iron rod under it for tamping the gunpowder. You pour the gunpowder in through the muzzle, use the iron rod to pack it down, then pour in the shot and pack it down again. On the side ignition tube was a percussion cap, with the hammer lightly resting on top of it. To fire it, you pull back the hammer and squeeze the trigger. The hammer strikes the percussion cap, the cap explodes and ignites the gunpowder, and the shot blasts out. Li Fuqiang went to the outer room and told his wife he was heading up the mountain. His wife didn't even raise her eyelids, only throwing him an indifferent glance. Because he drank himself senseless all day long, all the trust between him and his wife had already been worn away, which was why she treated him with such distance. He went out without a care in the world and waved to Su Ning. "Let's go, brother. With your big brother protecting you, it'll be smooth going all the way." Su Ning gave him a thumbs up, grinned, and said, "Absolutely. With my big brother coming along, what else is there to say? I feel totally at ease." Hearing his little brother praise him like that, pride immediately spread across Li Fuqiang's face. "You bet. See this gun? Don't let its age fool you. It's got one hell of a story behind it. Did your big brother ever tell you this gun was passed down from my grandpa?" Su Ning knew what Li Fuqiang was about to say, so instead of shaking his head along with him, he grinned mischievously and said, "I've heard it before. The old man once used this gun to shoot 2 dumb beasts, right? Damn impressive." Li Fuqiang froze for a moment, then turned and said blankly, "Really? When did I say that? How come I don't remember? Last time we were drinking. You told me all about it with snot and tears running down your face." Li Fuqiang looked confused. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't remember it at all. He only felt like the brag he was just about to make had hit a wall of cotton, leaving him choked up and miserable. "Really? Look at my memory. Then big brother definitely didn't tell you about my dad, right? My dad used this gun to shoot a brown bear." Su Ning cut in. "A xiongpi is a brown bear. After firing 1 shot, your dad ran off, right? Then 2 days later, he went back up the mountain and found that brown bear dead, didn't he? Actually, that brown bear wasn't even fully grown. Only about 300 to 400 gene or so. Its paw had been wounded by an explosive trap set by hunters. Then a big clawed beast, a tiger, caught the scent of blood, came over, and tore into it. By the time it was done eating, only the bare paw and about 30 gene of clean meat were left. Old Man Li carved off the bare paw and bare meat and carried them down the mountain. A few hunters saw him, and word spread right away. He did try to explain it, but nobody listened. Hearing this, Li Fuqiang was stunned again and muttered, "I told you about that too?" "You did." Li Fuqiang frowned and thought for a moment, then said, "Then big brother definitely never told you about that time I went up the mountain and ran into a black bear up in a tree digging out honey, and I brought it down with 1 shot, right?" Su Ning grinned and said, "You told me that too." "That too." Li Fuqiang was starting to question life. "You did. After firing that shot, you pulled out a double bang firecracker and set off 2 more bangs. Then when you walked up to the black bear for a look, you discovered that some wicked bastard had hung a wild boar hide on the tree to cover the beehive. Then the wasp stung 2 big lumps onto your face. Double bang means a firecracker, commonly called a 2-stage firecracker, and in local dialect, an artesi. The more Li Fuqiang listened, the more wrong it sounded. By the end, his eyes were red. There was no way he would ever tell anyone about such a glorious deed. "Ah, damn. How could I possibly? You messing with your big brother here?" Li Fuqiang finally caught on. His face felt burning hot with embarrassment, and with his face flushed red, he tilted his head and asked. Seeing how embarrassed he was, Su Ning burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha. How'd it take you this long to realize?" Hearing this, Li Fuqiang made as if to pounce on him. But Su Ning darted forward quickly, and the 2 of them started chasing each other. "It must have been your sister-in-law blabbing nonsense, right? Just wait till I get home and see how I deal with her." Su Ning turned and shouted, "Oh, give it a rest. You'll be lucky if my sister-in-law doesn't make you kneel on a washboard." Ah, damn. How's this woman running her mouth about everything? How am I supposed to show my face in the village after this? Ning stepped on the crusted snow and said, Big brother, we're brothers. Who doesn't know who the other is? If I were as thin-skinned as you, then I wouldn't be able to go on living in the village from now on. Li Fuqiang felt that made sense. That's true. If your glorious deeds had happened to your big brother here, I wouldn't have the face to leave the house for the rest of my life. Ning didn't care when he heard that. In any case, he had already pulled back from the brink and turned over a new leaf. If he wanted to change other people's impression of him, he was bound to endure the wear and tear of time. The two chatted and laughed as they headed deeper into the mountains. Khingan is directly administered by He Province, located on Gongyao Ridge, north of the Changbai mountain range in the Xinganling mountain system. Surrounded by mountains on three sides, with hills at its back and water by its side. Since it had just snowed a few days ago, the trees were now all covered with silvery frost. From a distance, the overlapping peaks stretched on endlessly, a scene of mountains blanketed in silver and snow as far as the eye could see. The snow in the forest was thick, and it gave underfoot when stepped on. Ning and Li Fuqiang trudged through snow up to their ankles, covering 8 or 9 li before finally reaching Liaoniagu on Gongyao Ridge. Along the way they heard quite a few gunshots and dogs barking. Li Fuqiang also pointed out several spots, saying there were snares and traps there, so they had to watch their step carefully. Ning was highly experienced in hunting. With just a glance, he could see what was going on. Those were specifically set for hares and pheasants, but the person who set them was only half-skilled. The distance between the snares and the traps was too short. This meant that if a hare happened to get caught in a snare, its struggling would inevitably scare off the pheasants coming to peck at the grass seed bait. When they reached the depths of Liaoniagu, halfway up a hillside, 2 sharp gunshots suddenly rang out. The shots came from Ning's right side, which was exactly where Wang Erli and the others had started driving the game, while the endpoint was in the shaded gully behind this hill. Ning's heart tightened, and gripping his spear gun tightly, he said in a muffled voice, Hurry, hurry, in the gully on the shady side of the hill. As soon as Su Chunlin heard the gunshots, he shouted, then cursed. That idiot Wang Loxi. He can even mess up the timing? Useless at everything. Lu Daming, carrying a sledgehammer, quickly followed and turned to ask, Brother-in-law, what do we do? Su Chunlin ground his teeth and said, What else can we do? Listen for the sound, and we'll strike when we get an opening. Got it. Su Chunlin took off the hunting rifle, pulled out 2 bullets from his padded jacket pocket, broke open the gun, and loaded 1 round into the rear chamber, holding the other in his hand. Although this mistake of firing too early had happened, neither of them panicked. Lu Daming planted the sledgehammer at his feet and leaned against a thick tree, listening intently. After loading the rifle, Su Chunlin stood quietly waiting in a hollow with a wide field of view. Lu Daming had sharp ears, and from far off he could hear the grunting calls of wild boars coming from below the hillside, as well as the noises of wild boars moving through the snowy forest. Brother-in-law, there's movement on the left. Hearing this, Su Chunlin raised his gun and searched toward the left. And after about 6 or 7 seconds, he spotted an old sow weighing over 200 jin charging up. The old sow grunted as it ran, its 4 hooves flailing rapidly through the snow, and 3 little yellow-haired piglets were following behind it. The 2 sides were a little over 30 meters apart, exactly level with Su Chunlin, and he immediately pulled the trigger. Bang! With a gunshot, the old sow was hit in the front leg and staggered down to the ground. Just as it rolled and struggled to get up, Su Chunlin immediately broke open the gun and replaced the round, then calmly raised the gun and fired. Bang! Bang! This shot hit the old sow, which had just gotten up and lunged forward, squarely in the head, dropping it dead on the spot, while the yellow-haired piglets behind it fled in panic. Seeing his brother-in-law's godlike marksmanship, Lu Daming immediately gave a thumbs up and fawned. Brother-in-law, awesome. Those 2 shots were damn impressive. Su Chunlin turned his head, and hearing that, his face darkened. Awesome, my ass J13. If you don't know how to suck up properly, then just stay quiet. Lu Daming wasn't angry when he heard this. He knew what kind of temper his brother-in-law had, and said with a grin, I learned it from earning. Awesome this, awesome that. How is that anything good to say? Learning from that brute, what could you possibly learn? Lu Daming was just about to laugh it off when he saw a 300+ jin big boar charging wildly through the forest. This big boar had 2 sharp tusks jutting from its mouth, its whole body coated in a muddy armor, and with brute force in its hind legs it lunged forward, charging straight at Su Chunlin's position. Brother-in-law, move. A big boar. Su Chunlin turned his head for a look. The big boar was still 40 to 50 meters away, and he immediately replied, "What the J-13 are you panicking for?" Calmly, he pulled 2 rounds from his pocket, broke open the gun, unloaded and chambered a round, then aimed the muzzle at the big boar charging straight at him. This big boar came head-on hard, and the distance between them was now less than 15 meters. Su Chunlin pulled the trigger and fired, but with only a sharp sizzle, white smoke immediately billowed from the rear chamber of the barrel. This shotgun used 16-gauge slugs. In those days, most hunting ammunition was homemade, and the rounds in Su Chunlin's hand had been made by Lu Daming. Shotgun shells were generally loaded with shot, filled with gunpowder and lead pellets inside. A slug was made by melting the lead pellets into one large lead ball so that it fit neatly into the shell casing. However, the gunpowder in this slug round may have gotten damp, causing a misfire that produced white smoke but failed to discharge. Su Chunlin froze for a moment and blurted out, "Oh shit." Seeing this, Lu Daming shouted at the top of his lungs, "Brother-in-law." Then he rushed towards Su Chunlin with a sledgehammer in hand. But on this snow-covered, shaded gully of the hillside, how could he possibly be faster than the big boar? In the blink of an eye, the big boar came barreling over. By now its anger had only grown. It had originally been having the time of its life with its 2 beloved sows and their piglets, never expecting to be ambushed by a pack of 2-legged beasts. It had seen with its own eyes one beloved sow dropped by 2 shots, and the young terrified out of their wits. How could a father not be furious at that? So with the mindset of, "You killed my beloved, then I'll make you pay with your life," it charged straight at the attacker. Its snout drove right into the back of Su Chunlin's knee, and with a violent upward toss from the big boar, Su Chunlin completed a 270-degree spin in midair and hit the ground with a heavy thud. Seeing this, Lu Daming instantly panicked and roared, "Motherfucker." He hurled the sledgehammer in his hand, but it was far too heavy and cumbersome. After tracing an arc through the air, it landed only half a meter from the big boar. Not only did this fail to scare it off, it only enraged it further. The big boar grunted and snorted as it turned in place, fixed on Su Chunlin where he had fallen, and charged wildly at him again. When Su Chunlin fell, the shotgun slipped off to one side, and the bullets clenched in his hand had no idea where they had fallen. He lay on his side on the ground, and his padded jacket had ridden up to his waist, leaving the flesh of his waist exposed. As if it had turned into a spirit, the big boar charged straight for his exposed waist. This scene was exactly the same as what had happened in his previous life. Su Chunlin looked back and was instantly terrified out of his wits. "Oh shit. Oh shit." Halfway up the hillside, Su Ning and Li Fuqiang had hurried as fast as they could, but still arrived a step too late. When Li Fuqiang saw it, his eyes went wide as saucers, and he froze on the spot. But beside him, Su Ning reacted with lightning speed. Gripping the spear, he hurled it at the big boar. With a wild boar's body covered in that thick muddy armor, neither a scattergun nor an air rifle alone could penetrate it. Not to mention a spear thrown by an ordinary person. Boars wear armor because there are too many mosquitoes in the mountains, and boars have rich blood and sparse hair, making them a favorite target for blood-sucking insects. To withstand the hot summer, boars like to soak in ponds and roll around in thin mud. After coming out of the water, with the blazing sun beating down, the thin mud quickly dries, thus forming a layer of mud shell. The mud shell not only seals in the boar's body temperature, but also wards off mosquito bites. And boars that have been bitten by mosquitoes often find the itching unbearable, so they specifically look for rough tree trunks and rocks to scratch themselves on. Pine resin rubbed onto the trunk and stuck with sand grains then becomes armor protecting their bodies. Most armored boars are male boars, and big lone boars at that. A big lone boar is a male boar that has left the herd to make a living on its own. In the South, it's called a solitary male. Su Ning judged that this big boar had originally been a big lone boar, but later may have been too lonely and found himself 2 consorts, forming a family. Big lone boars are generally fierce and highly aggressive, because if they aren't fierce enough in the mountains, they're easily bullied by other wild beasts. And although the big boar in front of them was wearing mud and resin armor, there wasn't much pine resin on it. Moreover, Su Ning had thrown the spear with all his strength, so this strike lodged directly into the boar's ribs. Evo Elo. Hit by the spear, the big boar let out 2 pained howls. Because of the inertia from the pain, it changed its path of movement and charged straight toward Lu Daming. Su Chunlin lay there stunned for a moment, then hurriedly climbed up and shouted, "Daming, run." Hearing the shout, Lu Daming immediately sprang to his feet and climbed straight up a tree. By this time, Su Ning had already snatched the old muzzleloader from Li Fuqiang's hands. As he ran forward, he raised the gun to aim and shouted to Su Chunlin, "Dad, hit it." Hearing this, Su Chunlin narrowed his eyes and lowered his head to look for the hunting gun. Bang! Su Ning fired. The shot loaded in the old muzzleloader was usually fine for hitting small beasts, but wanting to kill an armored boar with it was pure fantasy. So this shot was only meant to make the big boar retreat in the face of difficulty. Unfortunately, this big boar didn't know when to back off. Seeing that it hadn't gored Lu Daming, it flung off the spear stuck in its body, twisted around, and charged at Su Ning. When Su Chunlin saw it charging toward his own son, he instantly flew into a rage. Damn it! He picked up the hunting gun from the ground and was about to take out bullets, but the boar was too fast, and there was simply no way to catch up, so he could only stomp and curse. Li Fuqiang also came to his senses. Seeing his brother about to be in danger, he was immediately horrified, but the old muzzleloader in his hand had already been fired in Su Ning's hands. So he chased after Su Ning, picked up the old muzzleloader that had been thrown into the crusted snow. Because the old muzzleloader had been used for too long, its inner wall had already been worn thin, and after firing one shot, the high temperature from the gunpowder explosion directly melted a patch of snow. Li Fuqiang happened to be gripping exactly where the gunpowder had exploded with one hand, so as soon as he grabbed it, he felt a burning sensation, and was immediately scalded with 2 blisters. But for his brother's safety, he endured it and didn't let go, instead gritting his teeth and lunging at the wild boar. Brother, dodge! Su Ning saw the big boar charging at him and stepped forward 2 paces to meet it. Just as he picked up Lu Daming's sledgehammer that was still on the ground, he saw Li Fuqiang brandishing the old muzzleloader. He swung the gun, but at the big boar's face. The gun but shattered on impact, and Li Fuqiang stumbled and fell, but the big boar did not change its course. Its tusks were like 2 scimitars. With its head lowered, it charged straight ahead recklessly, bent on ramming Su Ning to death. Su Ning steeled himself and stepped to the left, gripping the sledgehammer with both hands and raising it high before bringing it down viciously. Damn beast, die! Thud! The sledgehammer landed squarely on the big boar's head with a dull bang. At once, the big boar's mouth bit into the snow, and its whole body flipped forward 3 times. By the time it landed steadily, it was already lying belly up with all 4 hooves in the air. On the shady hillside of Lao Nyogo, sinister gusts of wind blew, shaking loose clumps of snow from the dead branches. When the sound of the falling snow faded, only silence remained. Su Ning slowly lowered the wooden-handled sledgehammer. That blow just now had numbed the web between his thumb and forefinger. He turned to look at the stiff, dead big boar lying with its 4 hooves in the air, hearing only the unusually powerful thumping of his own heart. In his previous life, he had mostly used shotguns and hunting dogs to kill wild boars. This was his first time using a sledgehammer. He only felt the hot blood pumped by his heart instantly flood his whole body, giving him an undeniable thrill. Li Fuqiang, who was closest to him, climbed up from the snow crust. He paid no attention to his burned hand, nor did he care about how badly the family heirloom old foreign-made gun had been damaged. Li Fuqiang stared at Su Ning with his eyes wide open and a blank expression. Beside him, Lu Daming, who had been hugging a tree with both hands, gently set his feet on the ground, making creaking sounds on the snow crust. He craned his neck like he had seen a ghost in broad daylight, mouth hanging open as he looked at his eldest sister's son with disbelief. Su Chunlin, standing below in the mountain hollow with a hunting rifle in hand, was also stunned dumb by Su Ning's move. His face was vacant, his Adam's apple bobbing up and down, as if he wanted to say something, but the words at his lips simply would not come out. For a moment, he thought, is this really my son? Get the hell out of here, who'd believe it? At the same time, Su Chunlin also understood that if his second son Su Ning hadn't acted in time, that big boar would have rammed straight into his exposed lumbar spine. Getting gored by a big boar weighing over 300 jin was no joke. At best it would injure muscles and bones, at worst it would cost him his life in the wilderness. The biting cold wind made his eyes dry and sore. Su Chunlin turned his gaze to the sledgehammer standing on the ground beside Su Ning. That sledgehammer was his treasure. Every time he went up the mountain, even if he forgot to bring food, he still had to bring his sledgehammer. Because Su Chunlin had always fantasized about getting the chance to smash a wild boar to death with that sledgehammer. This was his lifelong dream. Who would have thought his second son Su Ning would achieve it so easily? What the hell? Why does my heart feel so clogged up and flustered? Seeing Su Ning turn and cast him a look, curling his mouth into a smile, Su Chunlin, as the father, actually dodged on purpose and avoided his gaze. Clearly, he was unwilling to admit the fact that his son had outdone him. But he was the father, after all. How could he show weakness in front of his son? He immediately lifted his fierce eyes, and met the gaze head-on. If it were the eldest son Su Long, that'd be one thing. But this little bastard Su Earning messes around all day and never does anything proper, so why him? Besides, Su Chunlin had clearly seen Su Ning smile just now. Was that mockery? A son dares laugh at his father? Fine, fine, fine. It's the perfect time to dig up all the old scores and settle them at once. The moment he thought of what Su Ning had done last night, his anger flared up uncontrollably. As for his second son Su Ning, Su Chunlin looked down on him immensely. He immediately glared and said irritably, "What are you doing here?" When Su Ning saw his father standing under the tree completely unharmed, he was very excited. His efforts had not been in vain. He had successfully saved old Su Nian, who was about to be crippled by a pig's goring. However, before he could be happy for long, he heard Su Chunlin bark out a reprimand. It caught Su Ning off guard, and as he blinked at his father, he recalled all the things Su Chunlin had done after becoming paralyzed. The story of Su Chunlin being crippled by a pig's goring became famous throughout the entire Khingan area. The nickname Old Nian was taken back, and Su Chunlin was given a new title, Old Su the Cripple. After this, Old Su the Cripple returned home from the hospital. He started making a scene. Several times, Old Su the Cripple made a fuss about wanting to drink rat poison, insisting that he had to poison himself to death. No matter how Mom Lu Liz Hen, big brother Su Long, and sister-in-law Wang Shuwan tried to stop him, they couldn't. Luckily, Su Ning came back right at mealtime, and as soon as he ran into this, his beastly temper flared up. He pointed at Su Chunlin and said, "If you dare eat it, I'll dare sell your coffin wood." When Su Chunlin heard this, he glared and threw the rat poison at him, cursing loudly. Beast. The wood prepared in advance for a coffin while a person is still alive is called shotsai. And back in 1981, Su Chunlin had already prepared shotsai for himself and Lu Liz Hen. The finest shotsai is golden thread nanmo, and a grade below that is fragrant nanmo, while the best ordinary people could use was cypress. Cypress is highly resistant to decay, its wood is very hard, and it also has a fragrant smell that helps repel insects. What Su Chunlin had prepared was cypress logs 60 centimeters in diameter. Cypress of this grade takes about 300 years to mature. Even in 1984, cypress like this was worth a whole lot of money. So as soon as Su Chunlin heard that, he gave up the idea and seized the chance to back down. But the good times didn't last long. Taking advantage of Su Ning not being home, he started making a scene again. This time he held a claw hammer and insisted on cracking his own head open, scaring Su Long so badly that he didn't even dare go to work at the forest farm. And because Su Long didn't go to work, he missed a great chance to turn his life around. It was a pity to hear about, and Lu Liz Hen was so angry that she whipped Su Chunlin more than 10 times with a feather duster. But it still didn't relieve her anger. For over half a month, she wouldn't speak to him. Su Chunlin knew he was in the wrong and was willing to accept the punishment, but unfortunately, he never learned. Later, when Su Ning was going to get married, he still tried desperately to stop it. That time, Su Ning didn't say a word, but Wang Erli forcibly talked sense into him for 3 straight days before finally getting through to him. In fact, Su Chunlin understood everything. He was just stubborn. Ever since becoming paralyzed and reduced to a useless person, he couldn't help the family at all, and instead became a burden. Usually, he didn't receive any care or attention from his family, and Lu Liz Hen would also make pointed remarks at him from time to time. It made Su Chunlin feel pretty miserable. Did he want to lie paralyzed on the Kong? Of course he didn't, but wasn't this just fate? So, in order to get his family's care and attention, he resorted to this desperate measure. But he never expected to try to steal a chicken only to lose the rice used to lure it. Not only did he delay Su Long's chance for a promotion, he also nearly caused Su Ning to miss out on getting a wife. The affairs of the old Su family were not only a common topic in Khingan village, but also gossip after meals in the family settlements of several nearby forest farms. Whenever people mentioned the old Su family of Khingan, they all gave a thumbs up and praised them, saying, "One family produced 2 legends, 1 demon and 1 gambling god." They don't even need couplets for the new year. Just paste the 2 men's photos on the door, and even little ghosts would leave in tears when they saw them. Some people even suggested that, if nothing else, the old Su family ought to go see a surgeon. Maybe there was something unusual going on. Don't mention it. In the previous life, old Su's family really made utter fools of themselves. But in this life, Su Ning returned to 1983, pulled back from the brink, turned over a new leaf, and started over. Speaking of which, Su Chunlin was standing under a tree on the shady slope of Leoniagu. That sudden howl not only startled Su Ning for a moment, but also left Lu Daming and Li Fuqiang dumbfounded. Su Ning just stared at him blankly and replied, My mom said you didn't bring any food, so she told me to bring some up to you. Hearing this, Su Chunlin got even more worked up and frowned. Bring what? Like I need you to bring it. I'm asking you, where the hell did you go last night? As soon as Su Ning heard that, he knew what he wanted to do. Whenever Su Chunlin had something awkward to say or something embarrassing happened, he liked to dredge up old scores to find a topic and gloss it over. This time, being saved by the son he looked down on most was already hard enough to swallow, and he definitely didn't want to admit it. So he was thinking of finding a topic and shutting the matter down right away. But Su Ning wasn't worried at all that the fact he saved his father would be brushed aside, because Lu Daming was right there at the scene. A smile spread across Su Ning's face as he said, I slept over at my second uncle's place last night. So what's up? Su Chunlin froze for a moment. Normally, Su Ning would definitely have shouted his classic line, I'll do whatever I want. But this time he was unusually cooperative, forcing Su Chunlin to swallow the words he had already prepared. He reorganized his thoughts and said, What's up? You damn near froze to death. What do you mean, what's up? Then Su Chunlin used actions to express a father's loving care. He turned the unloaded hunting rifle around, grabbed the barrel with one hand, and pointed the butt at Su Ning. Come on, I'll show you exactly what what's up means. Su Chunlin snapped, then charged at Su Ning, making as if to beat him. Seeing this, Lu Daming hurried over and stopped Su Chunlin. Brother-in-law, calm down. Being held back only made Su Chunlin more worked up. Pushing Lu Daming, he shouted, Get out of here. Brother-in-law, look at Erning. He's already this old. What are you beating him for? Besides, if Erning hadn't gotten there in time, that big boar would have gored you into the sky. The moment Su Chunlin heard that, his eyes immediately turned red. He already didn't want to admit the fact that he had been saved by his son. And what did that mean? It meant he was old, no longer as capable as his son. What father would feel good about that? More or less, it would leave anyone feeling upset. Besides, the image of Su Ning swinging the sledgehammer and delivering a fatal blow to the big boar was still circling in Su Chunlin's mind even now. He kept fantasizing that if only that had been him, how great that would have been. A lifelong dream ruined in an instant. How the hell was he supposed to take that? You're the one gored into the sky. What the hell do you know? Get out of here, hurry up and scram. Seeing that Lu Daming couldn't hold Su Chunlin back, Li Fuqiang at the side also stepped forward and wrapped his arms around his waist. Uncle, it's all my fault. Once Su Chunlin's stubborn temper flared up, he paid no heed to anyone and shouted, Who the hell are you calling uncle? Well, look, Erning and I are brothers, so doesn't that make you my uncle? Li Fuqiang was 10 years younger than Su Chunlin and 12 years older than Su Ning. How much courage must it have taken to call him uncle? But Li Fuqiang not only said it, he said it very warmly. Uncle, this really isn't my brother's fault. I had already seen him back to his doorstep. But who would have thought he'd be worried about me, afraid something might happen to me on the way, so he secretly followed me back, and then, hearing this, how could Su Chunlin not tell right from wrong? Actually, it was just two brothers worrying about each other, but they had drunk too much and nearly froze to death because of it. Su Chunlin was already in his 40s. How could he not understand? But he still refused to admit it, charging forward with all his might. This has nothing to do with you. Get out of the way. Watch how I beat this little bastard up. Lu Daming shouted, Brother-in-law, think about how brave my second nephew was just now. If it weren't for my second nephew, would you be able to stand up now, blustering about beating him? Su Chunlin was stunned when he heard this. He thought, Damn, how did I forget there's such a muddle-headed idiot here pretending to understand? Then he lifted his foot and kicked Lu Daming right in the leg. Lu Daming plopped straight down into the crusted snow and shouted with wide eyes, If not for my second nephew, that big boar would have rammed you flying. Would you still have the strength to kick me? Su Chunlin glared and immediately said, Damn, you're really getting worked up now. Li Fuqiang was very helpless. He wrapped both hands around Su Chunlin's waist and said, Uncle, my brother really didn't mean it, on purpose. If you're going to hit someone, hit me first. Who told me I just had to drag Erning into drinking? Hearing this, Su Chunlin was directly amused. Seeing that the topic couldn't be diverted, it was forcibly dragged back by Li Fuqiang, and he immediately found the kid much more pleasing to the eye. Besides, he also understood that Su Ning's prolonged silence was just him waiting to see him make a fool of himself. If he didn't smooth things over now, with Lu Daming there, he was afraid he really wouldn't get another chance. So he immediately took the hint and backed down. Why would I hit you? Su Chunlin stopped charging forward and no longer waved the gun, but at Su Ning, only pausing in place to ask. Seeing that he wasn't struggling, Li Fuqiang looked up and smiled. Erning and I are brothers. Then doesn't that make you my uncle? So what if you beat me up? Su Chunlin fell silent. He He had seen it very clearly just now, when Li Fuqiang saw the big boar charging straight at Su Ning. Without a word, he grabbed the family heirloom old shotgun and swung it at the big boar. The shotgun's butt was smashed to pieces, and he didn't feel the slightest bit of heartache. Instead, he only kept worrying about Su Ning. This kind of loyalty had to be remembered forever. Su Ning braced himself on the wooden handle of the sledgehammer and stood there without moving, just quietly watching old Su the Meek put on an act. He had seen this kind of act too many times in his previous life, to the point that in this life he was immune to it. And he didn't buy old Su the Meek's routine either. The two were father and son. As the saying goes, like father, like son. Whatever kind of temper Su Ning had, old Su the Meek had the same. But old Su the Meek only had one routine and used it to the end, while Su Ning at least understood a bit of technique and could adapt flexibly. Besides, when it came to something like saving his father, if it had been someone else's dad, not only would he have gone to the village office and had it praised over the loudspeaker, he would have been eager to brag about it to all the neighbors. Even if he didn't brag or praise him, shouldn't he at least ask a couple of questions? Son, are you hurt? Son, were you scared? But old Su the Meek didn't ask a single thing. Instead, he used last night's incident to block this topic from being brought up. This was probably the old father's alternative kind of dignity. Thinking of this, Su Ning smiled. Nothing to be done. Who told him this was his real father? Besides, old Su the Meek did care about him quite a bit. It was just that his way of caring was very off, usually involving a feather duster or a broom handle. Under the fine-sounding name of, "Your skin's itching, I'll scratch it for you." Su Chunlin just happened to turn his head and see his smile, and immediately raised his hand to point at him in anger. "Little bastard, don't you laugh. Just wait until we get home." At this moment, Lu Daming got up and looked at his brother-in-law with aggrieved eyes. "Brother-in-law, I really have to say this about you. If it weren't for my second nephew." Seeing Lu Daming about to turn the topic back again, Su Chunlin shouted, "What the hell do you know?" "Shut up." Lu Daming was stunned when he heard this, but obediently closed his mouth. He was raised by Su Chunlin from a young age. Precisely because he had no sense of tact, he also got beaten quite a bit while growing up. So towards Su Chunlin he felt both respect and fear. Su Ning could no longer hold it in and burst out laughing right where he stood. In an instant, Su Chunlin's old face turned red. He knew this bastard wasn't holding back anything good. Sure enough, he'd been waiting to spring it on him here. It made him so angry his teeth itched, yet he had no way to say anything. Because Li Fuqiang and Lu Daming, who were present, hadn't figured out what Su Ning was laughing at. Only Su Chunlin and his son understood it perfectly. Just then, a commotion came from below the hillside. Before seeing the people, they heard their voices first. "What are you all laughing at? Hey, Ning, why did you come up the mountain?" The ones who came were the three men driving the game, Wang Erli, Wang Hu, and Su Long. The one speaking was Wang Erli, Su Chunlin's sworn brother. "Second uncle, I came to bring you some dry rations," Wang Erli said with a smile. "Hey, no need for that. We'll head back after we're done at noon, and then we'll make some pork stew. That's way better than coarse cornmeal flatbread, isn't it? The cornmeal ground these days is coarse, so the texture isn't that good, and it scratches the throat too. What the hell kind of pork stew are we making?" Su Chunlin shot him a sidelong glare and said, "Are you fucking talking nonsense? Can't you even get the timing right? I told you to fire again in 40 minutes, and you fucking fired halfway through. What, huh? Do you hate me that much? Wanting that big boar to gore me to death, or what?" Wang Erli was stunned silly by his yelling. Heaven and earth as my witness. Although the two didn't get along in daily life, they were still sworn brothers after all. So how could he possibly try to do the other in? Besides, they only seemed at odds on the surface. In their hearts they were as close as twisted dough strands. Otherwise, the two families couldn't have joined together to hunt as one group. If anyone dared bully the old Su family, the first person to stand behind Su Chunlin would definitely be Wang Erli. That was exactly why, after Su Chunlin became paralyzed in his previous life, Wang Erli helped the old Su family so much. He helped Su Long get a job transfer, taught Su Ning to hunt, found a match for Su Ning, and Wang Erli even put up 300 yuan for the bride price. "What do you mean?" Wang Erli was a little bewildered. Seeing this, Su Chunlin got fired up. He'd finally found an opening to talk at Wang Erli. "What do I mean? What do you think I mean? You fired too early. Look here, this is where that big boar just gored me. It almost gored me to death." Lu Daming chimed in from the side. "Isn't that right, second brother? You really have to be more careful. If my second nephew hadn't arrived in time, my brother-in-law would have been gored right up into the sky by that big boar. Get lost. If you know how to talk, then talk. If you don't, shut up." "What the fuck do you mean I got gored into the sky?" Su Chunlin lashed out with a kick. knocking Lu Daming down onto his, but in the crusted snow. He looked up at Su Chunlin in silence, thinking, I'm praising my second nephew. Why are you kicking me again? What did I do to provoke you? Su Chunlin glared fiercely at his brother-in-law, then turned to stare at Wang Erli and said through gritted teeth, almost. Just almost. Hearing this, Wang Erli fell silent for a moment. Then he saw Lu Daming get up and deliberately walk a few steps in his direction. Lu Daming glanced back at his brother-in-law and figured this distance should be safe enough. Only then did he open his mouth and say, that's right, my brother-in-law was this close to being sent flying by that big boar. Luckily, my second nephew stepped in just in time, holding a spear and jabbing it straight into the boar's ribs. He stabbed that big boar till it squealed, then fired another shot with the old musket, and the pellets went straight into the boar's eyes. After that, my second nephew swung a sledgehammer and beat that big boar to death. Look, isn't it lying there on its back? Su Chunlin hadn't been on guard at all. By the time Lu Daming finished in one breath, it was already too late. There was no saving it. He could only listen resentfully as his brother-in-law bragged about Su Ning's heroic deeds just now. Wang Erli, Wang Hu, and Su Long were a little unable to believe their ears at first when they heard about it. But when they saw Su Chunlin's long face drooping, they believed more than half of it. For a moment, all three showed astonished expressions. Over the years, no one knew Su Ning better than they did. Especially Su Long. He could hardly believe his ears. How could he not know what kind of person his own younger brother was? But now, his uncle was telling him that Su Ning had just used a sledgehammer to beat a boar to death? Holy shit, holy shit. Second brother, did you really swing a sledgehammer and kill that boar? Hearing that Su Ning was so fierce, Wang Hu's eyes lit up at once, and he grabbed Su Ning's arm and asked excitedly. He was Wang Erli's eldest son, half a year younger than Su Ning. Seeing the looks everyone was giving him, Su Ning felt extremely pleased. Yeah, I saw that boar about to gore my dad, and when I saw that, how could I let it slide? I threw the spear right then, and later the boar charged at me. I wasn't about to indulge it. I just used a sledgehammer and smashed it to death. Wang Hu clapped excitedly. His face flushed red as he said, damn, that's awesome. Second brother, when did you learn that skill? Teach me sometime when you're free. Su Ning tilted his head back and chuckled. What? You think I've just been fooling around outside all this time? In the streets, what kind of capable people aren't there? Just casually learning a couple of moves from someone is enough to dominate this Gongyao Ridge. Hearing this, Su Chunlin curled his lip in resentment. Dominate Gongyao Ridge? Just wait until we get home. I'll definitely find something to teach you what it means to lie flat on the Kong for 8 days. Su Long also felt his younger brother was just bragging. They were all family. Who didn't know who? Just because you happened to swing a sledgehammer and kill a pig, you dare say you can dominate Gongyao Ridge? Can you stop bragging? When you were little, who was it that got chased by the production team's big goose and cried his eyes out? Hearing that, Su Ning immediately turned his gaze to his big brother and said, and didn't you poke the production team's pig in the ass with a cornstalk? Didn't our dad beat you till you bawled that night? Besides, how do you know I'm bragging? As the saying goes, after 3 days apart, you should look at someone with new eyes. If you're not convinced, let's have a go. Fine, let's have a go. So what? Besides gambling and heavy drinking, now you've learned to mouth off at me too? As he spoke, Su Long made as if to step forward. From childhood to adulthood, the two brothers had fought quite a lot, and every time Su Ning ended up at a disadvantage. Why? Wasn't it because Su Long was 4 years older than Su Ning? If Su Ning's personality leaned toward his father, then Su Long's personality was even more like Lu Lijian's. Whenever there was nothing going on, he liked to needle him with words. He takes after the family to some extent. Wang Erli raised a hand to stop them, but then saw Su Chunlin getting worked up again. When Su Chunlin saw the second son provoking the eldest, the balance in his heart immediately tipped. This had always been the norm since they were little. Whenever the two brothers fought, Su Chunlin generally sided with the eldest, while Lu Lijian sided with the second. How the hell are you talking to your big brother? Isn't your big brother better than you? Look at everyone in the village. Who's as wild as you are? How many times have the police brought you back? Do you know that because of you, I don't even dare raise my head when I walk around the village? Su Chunlin's words grew harsher and harsher, making Wang Hu and Li Fuqiang beside them afraid to say a word. Even Wang Erli couldn't help frowning after hearing this. Big brother, look, the kid killed a boar. Why do you always bring up the past? The moment this was mentioned, Su Chunlin got angry, and his tone shifted toward Wang Erli. Isn't it all your fault? If you hadn't started that reckless fight, would I have gotten chased by a pig? After he said that, everyone present burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? Su Chunlin's face turned red, clearly a bit embarrassed, so he fixed his gaze on the instigator. Second, Didn't you brag that you'd learned everything in town? Then butcher the pig for us. I want to see how you use a knife. If you ruin this meat, just wait till we get home and see how I deal with you. It's fine for brothers to bicker however they want, but the moment adults step in, it changes the nature of things. And Su Long also felt sorry for his younger brother, but that younger brother was just too disappointing. Sometimes when he thought about the things his brother had done, he'd grind his teeth even in his sleep. Dad, Ning was just bragging just now. Don't stoop to his level. Su Chunlin favored the eldest, so after hearing him say that, he didn't say anything. Seeing the atmosphere ease up, Wang Erli deliberately asked, was this hog really hammered to death by my second nephew? Although Su Chunlin could be a bit unreasonable when it came to educating his children, he was usually quite reasonable in other matters. So he didn't lie and deny it, only giving a slight nod. Lu Daming had been holding back a bellyful of words and finally couldn't keep it in. You bet. My brother-in-law, Xiangzi, and I all saw it with our own eyes. That hammer blow was absolutely earth-shaking. Cut it out. No one will take you for a mute if you don't talk. Su Chunlin blurted out, but he still couldn't stop Lu Daming from continuing. He jumped over to Wang Erli's side and said, second brother, you didn't see it. Just now, that whole pig hunting routine my second nephew pulled off was even more badass than Su Depeo's. Su Depeo was an old hunter from neighboring Taiping village, who became famous throughout the entire Khingan area for killing 2 black bears in a row with a double-barreled shotgun. People in the hunting circle respectfully called him Su Pao, and any hunter who could be called Pao was definitely one of the fiercest men in the hunting circle. Even more badass than Su Depeo, although Lu Daming sometimes liked to exaggerate, hearing that Su Ning could be mentioned in the same breath as Su Depeo still greatly surprised Wang Erli. What annoyed Su Chunlin most was his brother-in-law's lack of tact, but thinking back on Su Ning's little combo just now, he really could compare with Su Depeo. Seeing that Su Chunlin said nothing, Wang Erli knew he was tacitly admitting it. Otherwise, given how much Su Chunlin looked down on Su Ning, he would have tried every way possible to deny it and put him down. Oh, come on, big brother, look at that. You strut around all day with that sledgehammer, saying you were going to hammer a wild boar. Who would have thought my second nephew would beat you to it? Wang Erli said with a light laugh. Looks like my second nephew really is better than you. Hearing this, Su Chunlin snapped. What the hell are you saying? No need for you to gloat here. Because you stirred up trouble. I almost got gored to death by that pig. What do you have to say about that? Aren't you perfectly fine right now? What? Where are you hurt? Su Chunlin rolled his eyes. Stop changing the subject. I'm asking you what we're going to do about this. If something had happened to you, I'd take care of you for the rest of your life, all right? Big brother. Looking at Wang Erli's fawning smile, Su Chunlin gave a cold snort. Heh, that's the only bit of skill you've got. Seeing the two fathers finally finish bickering, Wang Hu, who had been waiting anxiously off to the side, couldn't hold back any longer. He poked at the hog lying belly up in the snow crust and looked up to ask, Uncle, Dad, what are we doing with this hog? Open it up, what else? At this moment, Wang Erli still remembered what Su Ning had said just now. So he turned and asked, Ning, from what you said earlier, it sounds like you weren't just fooling around out there all these years, but actually learned quite a few skills. So, do you know how to gut and butcher a pig? Su Ning said with a smile. Not really, but I can give it a try. At this moment, Su Chunlin abruptly cut in. If you butcher the pig all wrong, just wait till we get home. I'll definitely beat you. He still remembered wanting to pick a fight with Su Ning and give him a beating. Otherwise, his heart just wouldn't settle and he'd feel all blocked up and uncomfortable. Su Chunlin and Wang Erli clearly had different ways of educating children. One was good at using force to subdue them, while the other excelled at luring them along with words. The two were one civil and one martial, and together they were the childhood nightmare of both families' kids. Because every time Su Chunlin finished beating someone, Wang Erli would come over and lecture them. Later, there was one time Wang who couldn't take it anymore and cried out, Uncle, every time after you beat me, my dad comes and lectures me too. How about you tell my dad to stop talking instead? Just hit me a couple more times. From this alone, one could infer that the children at home were even more afraid of Wang Erli. His mouth was like Tang monk chanting scriptures, talking people into a daze, like they'd drunk fake liquor. Hearing Su Chunlin's warning, Su Ning grinned. He knew perfectly well that old mute Su was secretly sharpening his knife, ready to watch him make a mistake and find an excuse to beat him. But Su Ning didn't care at all. After all, he was someone who had been reborn, and had even successfully saved his own father from a wild boar's jaws. That also meant he was no longer the old Su Ning. How could he possibly give old mute Su a chance to lay hands on him and beat him? He handed the sledgehammer to Li Fuqiang, then stepped forward 2 paces to the boar. Wang Hu took out a hunting knife and handed it to him, saying with a grin, "Second brother, let me see your technique." At this moment, everyone crowded around. Su Chuanlin's face was flushed as he watched with an expectant look. He was hoping Su Ning would ruin the meat with a bad cut, so he could vent his anger once they got home. Su Ning took the hunting knife. First he gauged twice near the pig's neck, then moved the tip to its belly. Su Chunlin said darkly, "Do you even know what you're doing? Stop fucking wasting time here. Everything's going to freeze up in a bit." No sooner had he said this than Su Ning, at astonishing speed, drove the tip of the knife into the pig's neck and then swiftly pulled it out. Then pig blood came gushing out through the knife hole. Although this boar was already dead, the blood inside its body was still circulating, so it could still be bled. Seeing how fast his son made the cut, Su Chunlin felt his little scheme fall apart. There was no chance for that beating now. Staring somewhat disappointedly at Su Ning's profile, he then heard Wang Erli praise him. "Good. Fast, fierce, steady cut. Not bad. Erning, look at this talent of yours. It'd be a waste not to use it for hunting. So how about it? Follow your second uncle hunting from now on." Su Ning turned his head and smiled. "Second uncle, you know me. I don't like being constrained. Since when has your second uncle ever constrained you? If you don't want to go hunting with your second uncle, then what do you want to do? Just don't go gambling. Among those gambling addicts in our village, is there a single decent person?" Su Ning nodded. "Second uncle, I won't gamble anymore. I'm thinking of raising 2 dogs, then going up the mountain to hunt whenever I've got nothing to do. Look, I'm already 20, and the matchmakers in this village still don't know to introduce me to someone. I've got to save up money myself to get a wife, don't I?" Hearing this, Su Chunlin sneered. "With your terrible reputation, what family's daughter would want to be with you? Besides, what do you mean by saving up yourself to get a wife? Are your father and mother dead or something?" "Dad, you really shouldn't say that," Su Long said a little nervously, tugging at his old father's arm. Wang Erli waved a hand and slapped Su Chuanlin's thigh, signaling him not to speak for the moment. "Erning, you won't save much money just by hunting alone. How about your second uncle introduces you to a job?" Su Chunlin couldn't hold back and glared. "What job are you looking for? Don't let him go make a fool of himself. Last time he went to the motor pool at the forest farm, he was in the truck bed looking for someone to gamble with. Big brother, I'm reasoning with the kid here. Why do you keep bringing up the past?" Wang Erli complained a couple of times. Seeing that Su Chunlin had stopped talking, he turned to Su Ning and said, "Erning, your reputation is known throughout all the surrounding villages, so shouldn't we first work on changing that?" Su Ning glanced at the fresh blood gushing from the boar's neck and said, "Yeah, isn't that exactly what I'm preparing to do? Pull back from the brink." "You? Huh?" Su Chunlin sneered repeatedly. He didn't believe a single word Su Ning said. He'd heard too much of this before, and now he just treated it as a dog's fart. Su Long had the same expression as his dad. Only Lu Daming, Wang Hu, and Li Fuqiang barely believed him, because Su Ning, who was now squatting on the ground butchering the boar, was obviously different from usual. Seeing that the boar had bled almost enough, Su Ning used one knife stroke to cut open the pig's belly, took out the lantern hang, then stood up and hung it on the tree. The lantern hang refers to an animal's internal organs and offal. Then they heard him shout, "Mountain God, old headman, bless my brothers and my family to enter the mountains safely and come out with a great harvest." When Su Chunlin and Wang Erli saw what he did and heard what he shouted, they were instantly stunned. This was a congratulatory chant for worshipping the mountain god. They hadn't expected Su Ning to really know it. He wasn't just bragging earlier. This kid really had learned some skills out there. Li Fuqiang, Lu Daming, and Wang Hu were also stunned speechless. They had heard old hunters say before that when entering and leaving the mountains, one had to pay respects to the mountain god, old headman, and when game was caught, one had to leave a share for the mountain god. But they hadn't expected there to be such a chant as well. Actually, the 16th day of the 3rd lunar month every year is the festival of the mountain god, old headman. On that day, offerings must be made at the mountain god temple at the foot of the mountain, with offerings such as pig heads, fruit, tobacco, incense, and so on. And Su Ning's actions really were paying respect to the mountain god, old headman. By the time they came back to their senses, Su Ning was already squatting on the ground and starting to butcher the boar. Right before their eyes, Su Ning held the hunting knife and cut with steadiness, precision, and force. He first removed the pig's head and set it aside, then took off the 2 front legs and the 2 hind legs. Before long, Su Ning had finished butchering the entire boar. Laid out neatly on the snow crust were the pig's head, pig heart, pork knuckles, hindquarters, ribs, tenderloin, skirt steak, fat back. After butchering the pig, Su Ning turned and smiled. "Dad, how is it? Facing his son's question, Su Chunlin avoided his gaze and said, it's just SOSO, passable. But Wang Erli's eyes were shining. Just as my second nephew said, after 3 days apart, one should look at someone with new eyes. This butchering technique was no less skillful than that of an experienced old butcher. Su Long, Wang Hu, Lu Daming, and Li Fuqiang were all dumbfounded. If Su Ning weren't right there alive and well before their eyes, they would have thought some immortal had taken him on as a disciple. Otherwise, the change wouldn't be this huge. This skill really left everyone staring in shock. Wang Erli's eyes shone as he said, "Ning, as long as you behave yourself from now on, your second uncle will introduce you to a match." "Really?" "Absolutely. Since when has your second uncle ever lied to you?" Su Ning said with a smile. "That's true, just don't worry. I've turned over a new leaf now, and from now on I'll definitely live a steady, honest life." "That's more like it. If you'd woken up earlier, with my second nephew being this handsome, wouldn't girls from all the surrounding villages be scrambling to marry you? Maybe by now your kid would already be old enough to go buy soy sauce." Wang Erli really did have a silver tongue. What he said made Su Ning feel delighted inside, and for a moment, he even felt a little hopeful. And this time Su Chunlin didn't needle him with words either, clearly because he was stunned silly by what his son had just done. "Second brother, when did you learn to do this? Looks even better than old Zheng from our village." Wang, who was full of admiration, grabbing Su Ning's arm and pleading, "Teach me sometime, second brother, okay? Sure, easy enough. If you're willing to go hunting in the mountains with me from now on, I'll teach you. Deal." At this moment, Su Chunlin frowned and said, "Don't go messing around. There isn't anything in these mountains and forests. Don't let a black bear get you again." Wang Erli said with a smile, "It's fine. The kid's grown up. It's time for him to get out and venture a bit. Ning, if you want to go hunting in the mountains from now on, just come to the house and get a gun. Plenty of bullets. Done. Stop showing off. You think you can watch over him while he hunts?" "What if?" Wang Erli said earnestly. "Big brother, then were you happy watching Ning gamble every day? At least now he has an interest. What are you going to do when he doesn't even have that interest anymore?" Su Chunlin thought that made sense too, glared at Su Ning, and said, "Hurry up and butcher that old sow over there too. Huzi and Daming, put these things into the bags." Wang Erli said, "Dalong, come down the mountain with me. There's another old sow down below." As soon as Su Chunlin heard this, he got angry. "I knew you little bastard were up to no good. You must have gotten itchy seeing that old sow and fired early, didn't you?" Knowing he was in the wrong, Wang Erli gave a fawning smile. "Big brother, look, isn't everything fine? Besides, Ning gave us a huge surprise today. When we get home, the two of us brothers have got to have a couple of drinks." Su Chunlin rolled his eyes. Whenever the two of them argued, as long as he was in the right, Wang Erli would put on a whole act of smooth appeasement. But if Wang Erli was the one in the right, he would definitely refuse to let it go, bombarding Su Chunlin until he was fit to burst with anger. The old sow in front of them was estimated to weigh a bit over 200 jing. Su Ning held a hunting knife and quickly bled it, opened the belly, and removed the offal, while Li Fuqiang helped from the side, tossing the offal onto a tree branch. Then he watched Su Ning's knife move with incredible speed, and in no time at all he had butchered the entire pig. Just as Li Fuqiang was holding open the sack and Su Ning was putting the butchered meat into it, Su Chunlin ran over and shouted, "Put the hindquarter, the 2 elbows, the rib section, and the fat back into this sack." Su Ning tilted his head and asked, "What's this for?" "Give it to your big brother to take." "What? You think your big brother came with you up the mountain for nothing?" Su Chunlin said with narrowed eyes and an unfriendly tone. The big brother he was talking about was Li Fuqiang. Su Ning also caught on and said, "Aren't we supposed to divide it up after we get home? Why split it up here on the mountain? So you can divide the meat at home with all the villagers watching?" This time the hunt was organized by the forestry station. Otherwise, would your second uncle and I have had time to come up the mountain? As for that boar, that goes to the forestry station. We'll take these 2 old sows home for ourselves to eat. You don't understand anything. As for this kind of social etiquette, you've still got a lot to learn. Su Ning suddenly understood, and had to admit that Su Chunlin had indeed thought things through very carefully. Although to outsiders it might seem a bit calculating, this way of doing things could ease quite a few relationships. Just think, if the group hunted something in the mountains and the villagers saw them carrying it home, wouldn't they have to lend a hand butchering the pig? And after they helped butcher it, could you really let them help for nothing? Wouldn't you have to cut off a bit of meat to show your appreciation? Otherwise, how would you get along with the villagers afterward? So that was why they butchered the pig up on the mountain and packed it into sacks afterward. Even if people in the village saw it, they wouldn't ask too many questions. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, if they hunted a wild boar, they would only bleed it and gut it on the mountain. because dragging the whole pig down the mountain was much easier than carrying pork down on your back. Hearing this from the side, Li Fuqiang felt a little embarrassed. He said, "Uncle, I didn't really do much." "What did you call me?" "Uncle." Li Fuqiang froze. "Then if I tell you to take something, you take it. Why so much talk? Let me see what happened to your hand." Li Fuqiang's hand holding up the bag was trembling a little, and Su Chunlin noticed and asked, "It's nothing. I got burned a bit when I grabbed the gun just now." Hearing that, Su Ning spread open his hand and saw 2 blisters the size of soybeans. "Big brother, why didn't you say anything?" "It's no big deal." Su Chunlin said, "Come home with us later. We've got badger oil at home. After we eat, take some home and put it on for a couple of days, and you'll be fine." Li Fuqiang said with a smile, "No need, my family." Su Ning nudged him and said, "Big brother, my dad is inviting you to our house for dinner." "Huh? Ah, all right then. I'll trouble you, uncle and auntie." "What's the trouble? You two hurry up and load the meat." "Okay." Li Fuqiang nodded repeatedly with a smile. In all these years, this was the first time he had been invited to eat at someone else's home. With his reputation, people usually wish they could avoid him. But why was Su Chunlin being so warmly inviting today? Wasn't it because he saw how Li Fuqiang stepped in to help Su Ning? That's how people are. You help me, I help you, and little by little, affection builds up. Su Chunlin picked up the boar spear and the old muzzleloader from the snow crust, and looked at the badly damaged old muzzleloader in silence. He also knew the story behind this old muzzleloader. Back when he used to hang out with Li Fuqiang's father, he'd heard him say that this old muzzleloader had extraordinary meaning for the old Li family. And now, in order to help Su Ning, it had been smashed to pieces. After Su Ning and Li Fuqiang finished packing the meat, each carried a sack and walked over to Su Chunlin. "Xiangzi, the gun stock is broken. Someday I'll get Ming the cripple to make you another stock. And after that, just hang this gun up at home and don't take it outside anymore. If you want to hunt, go to my house and take this gun," Su Chunlin said, patting the hunting rifle slung over his back. This was also a father repaying a favor for his son. Su Ning could only stand to the side and smile bitterly to himself. Given his relationship with Li Fuqiang, there was no need to be this formal. And Li Fuqiang was so overwhelmed by Su Chunlin's enthusiasm that he didn't know how to respond. He waved his hands again and again. "Uncle, no need. When I go up the mountain, I usually just set traps and snares. I don't need a gun," Su Chunlin said with a stern face. "What? So you're just going to stay at home from now on? Isn't earning going up the mountain to hunt? You follow along with him then, and I'll feel at ease." Su Ning didn't say anything. His dad really had a sharp tongue and a soft heart. Wasn't this just him finding a teammate for his son? "Ah, then I understand. All right, uncle, don't worry, I'll definitely go along." Su Chunlin nodded, glanced at Su Ning, and barked, "What are you looking at? Head home." Su Ning grinned, then hoisted the sack filled with sow meat and headed down the mountain. Li Fuqiang, Su Chunlin, Wang Hu, and Lu Daming also carried their own sacks and followed behind. Before long, the group saw Wang Early and Su Long, who were packing up the meat. The old sow he had shot wasn't very big. After butchering, it weighed less than 200 pounds, and once the bones were removed, there were only 100 pounds of meat left. After the group met up, they headed toward Khingan Village. On the way, Su Chunlin and Wang Early traded banter from time to time, and sometimes spoke quietly to each other. Wang Hu leaned beside Su Ning and kept asking him how he had learned to butcher a pig. Su Ning had no choice but to use the excuse that there were many capable people in the city, and brushed him off with that. From behind, Su Long stared fixedly at the back of his younger brother's head and secretly resolved that if Su Ning went gambling again in the future, he'd definitely team up with old mute Su to skin him alive. With butchering skills like this, even if he didn't go hunting, he could still scrape out a living at a slaughterhouse. Why mess around all day instead? As the saying goes, it's easy to go up a mountain but hard to come down, let alone on a snowy mountain path like this. The group stopped to rest several times, finished off the flatbreads and pickles in the aluminum lunchbox, and after walking for nearly another 2 hours, they finally felt their way to the edge of Khingan Village. Su Chunlin and Wang Early had to deliver the castration meat to the village office, which would then distribute it to the families of the Khingan forest farm in the village. Just as they were about to part ways, Su Chunlin said to Li Fuqiang, "Xiangzi, take the meat back. After that, bring your wife and kids over to the house to help your aunt and the others out." Li Fuqiang responded. In truth, he was somewhat troubled. Because his drinking was so off-putting, the relationship between him and his wife Yang Shuhua was already close to the breaking point. Usually the two of them hardly spoke at home, and all their communication relied on their twin son and daughter. But there was nothing wrong with the way Yang Shuhua conducted herself, no matter how much she looked down on Li Fuqiang. She still prepared 3 meals a day and never let Li Fuqiang go hungry. The third house in from the west end of the village was Li Fuqiang's home. He paused at the door. Seeing this, Ning took the initiative and said, "Big brother, want me to go inside with you?" Those words solved Li Fuqiang's urgent problem, and he immediately nodded in agreement. Ning handed the sack of meat he was carrying on his shoulder to Su Long and told his old uncle's group of 3 to head back first. Then the 2 of them walked into the yard, and from a distance Li Fuqiang called out, "Wife, my brother's here at the house." Yang Shuhua was in the west room making padded jackets and pants for the children. When she heard them, she put down what she was doing and walked out to the outer room. Just as she met Ning and Li Fuqiang coming in, she didn't pull a long face, but instead smiled and nodded in greeting. "Brother, you're here. Stay and eat at home tonight. Sister-in-law will make you stir-fried cabbage with vinegar." Ning smiled and said, "I'm afraid that won't work today, sister-in-law. You'll have to come to my house for dinner." Dinner? Yang Shuhua was a little bewildered. Ever since marrying Li Fuqiang, she had never been invited by anyone to eat at their home. Because ever since Li Fuqiang's father died, the old Li family had basically had no social dealings with the people in the village. Here's the situation. Ning explained what had happened on the mountain, and Yang Shuhua understood. She waved her hand and declined tactfully, saying, "Brother, don't I know what he's like? What help could he be? Don't be so polite." "Sister-in-law, I'm not being polite with you. My dad's the one who said we should eat together. It's not me making the decision on my own." Yang Shuhua was taken aback and nodded. But my 2 kids aren't out of school yet. Won't they come back together with my Fenger? I'll go meet them at the village entrance then. It'll be just right for you to come to my house and help my mom and the others out." Fenger, full name Su Feng, was Ning's younger sister.